If you've ever stared at a red screen and thought, "I'm terrible at this," you're in good company. Every successful investor you admire has made the same mistakes you're making or are about to make. The difference is not that they avoided error, it's that they learned to design around it. This is a calm, comprehensive walk through the 10 errors that show up in every portfolio, how they sneak in even when you think you're being rational, and what to do instead. No bullet points, no hype, just the lived-in systems that keep ordinary people compounding through loud seasons. Begin with the mistake that makes all the other mistakes expensive: investing without a written policy. Most of us don't have a plan, we have vibes. We buy when it feels good, sell when it feels scary, and call the result intuition. Markets are expert at extracting rent from intuition. Without a policy you can read while anxious, your decisions will belong to headlines and moods. A portfolio policy does not need to be a novel. It can be a single paragraph you frame in the room where you click buy and sell. Here's what I own: broad, low-cost stock funds that hold thousands of businesses, and a short to intermediate bond sleeve sized to my sleep. Here's when I buy: every payday, automatically. Here's when I rebalance: birthday and half birthday, or when my mix drifts outside a band I set before the storm. Here's my cash-like buffer and why. Here's what I refuse to do: no timing headlines, no single position above a line, no products sold with adjectives. Owning this paragraph will not make you a genius, it will make you consistent. Consistency is what compounding recognizes as talent. Right behind the missing policy is the habit of timing the market. Timing seduces because it's occasionally right in a way that flatters the ego. You'll sell before a dip once and begin to believe you can do it again. The problem is arithmetic and psychology. To time successfully, you must be right twice, on the exit and the re-entry, and you must execute those moves under stress. The moments when timing feels most urgent are the moments when you are least able to be precise. Meanwhile, the market bills you for being out even a handful of strong days across a decade. Being present for the recovery matters more than avoiding the first part of the fall. If you must tinker, fence curiosity to a sandbox so small that a total failure would not change your month. Keep the rest in a schedule you respect when screens are red. The third mistake is underestimating fees and taxes. Costs look small in isolation. 1% here, a turnover-driven tax bill there, no big deal. Over decades, small drips carve canyons. A portfolio that costs close to zero will, all else equal, outrun a portfolio that costs 1% by a fortune. Taxes are the same story told by the calendar. High turnover to chase a story invites short-term tax rates that behave like a fine for impatience. You don't need to become a tax expert to avoid this mistake. You need to put dollars in accounts where they're treated kindly for decades, prefer low-cost funds you can hold through boredom, and turn rebalancing into a twice-a-year ceremony instead of a hobby. Costs you can see are the only certain alpha you'll ever capture. Get them low and keep them low. The market can deny you returns, it cannot deny you lower fees. Another mistake that ruins otherwise decent portfolios is concentration disguised as conviction. Humans fall in love with employers, hometown housing markets, a stock that made them feel smart once, a sector that always wins, a coin they found in a forum. Love is a wonderful emotion and a reckless risk model. When too much of your balance sheet rhymes with one story about the future, you are building a life where one disappointment can erase a decade. Diversification is not about being clever, it is a humility strategy. It admits that the future is larger than your imagination and spreads your bets across geographies, industries, and asset classes so that you are rarely right in a spectacular way and almost never wrong in a catastrophic way. If your employer stock is more than you could calmly lose without changing your life, trim. If your city's real estate is your net worth and your income source, understand you're running a local planet portfolio. Consider adding ownership that earns when your zip code does not. Leverage is the amplifier that turns a discomfort into a disaster, and it's the fifth mistake precisely because it works so well until it doesn't. Margin loans to buy the dip, option strategies that demand you be right on direction and time, real estate debt sized for a sunny forecast, these are bridges that collapse when traffic moves the wrong way. Leverage isn't evil. Used by disciplined operators who price the downside in cash, it's a tool. Used to make screenshots exciting, it's a guillotine. Before any borrowed dollar enters your plan, ask the merciless question, what has to go right for this to not damage my month? If your answer lists 3 or more conditions, you're not planning, you're praying. Prayers make poor collateral. The 6th mistake is misunderstanding bonds and cash. Many investors treat bonds as a monolith called safe and are shocked when long-duration bonds behave like stocks in a rate shock. Duration is sensitivity to rate changes. Longer bonds move more when rates move. If you own long bonds for income and plan to hold to maturity without touching the principal, price swings are paper. If you own a bond fund and intend to sell in a year, the swings are real. Meanwhile, cash feels useless until it saves your decade. Cash is the oxygen that lets you sit through volatility without selling the engine at a discount. The right mix is not a formula someone on the internet can dictate. It's the smallest bond cash sleeve that lets you obey your policy on bad days. If you can't hold through a storm, the problem isn't your courage. It's that your portfolio isn't matched to your nervous system. 7th on the list is ignoring liquidity and sequence of returns risk. It's easy to anchor on averages, the market returns X% per year, and forget that returns do not arrive on schedule. The order of gains and losses matters, especially when you're taking money out. 2 portfolios with the same average over 20 years can leave one retiree fine and another desperate depending on what happened in their first 3 years. The antidote is a buffer that covers planned withdrawals for a couple of years and a rule that you refill that buffer in good years as part of your rebalancing ceremony. Liquidity matters before you retire too. If your next 12 months include a tuition payment or a move, those dollars do not belong in volatile assets, simply because yields feel insulting. Assets do not owe you convenience on your timeline. Design for that reality, and the market will feel less like a judge and more like a partner. The 8th mistake is buying products you don't understand because someone you trust used adjectives. Structured notes that promise income with protection, levered and inverse ETFs that look clever in a chart, crypto yield schemes with opaque counterparties, annuities that bury conditions in a forest of fine print, these instruments often work exactly as designed while still being awful for humans living through noisy weeks. Path dependency, soft caps on upside, fees that hide in complexity, lockups that feel fine until you need the money, and counterparty risk that matters only when it's too late are not bugs. They are features that feed on your hope for a smoother ride. A useful test: explain the product to a smart friend in a single sitting without hand-waving. If you cannot, you are auditioning to be someone else's yield. Board portfolios that own thousands of businesses at low cost and a simple bond sleeve will never trend. They will, however, leave you solvent when trends change. The 9th mistake is giving your attention away for free. This doesn't sound like an investing error until you notice how many poor decisions arrive from interrupted plans. The phone pings, you doom scroll, you feel behind, you chase, you sell because a stranger's chart looked authoritative, you buy because your neighbor bragged, you interrupt dinner with a trade that costs you twice, once at the register and once on the screen. Good investing is a behavioral sport disguised as math. Protecting attention is financial hygiene. Move shopping and trading apps off your home screen. Turn off notifications that aren't humans you love or clients you serve. Keep a 30-day want list so feelings cool before money moves. Cordoning off the hours where you look at markets to mere windows rather than an all-day drip will make your policy easier to obey. The return shows up not only as better trades, but as fewer bad ones you no longer feel compelled to make. The 10th mistake is neglecting the boring buffers, emergency cash, paperwork, and account order because they don't look like investing. When you skip the emergency fund, every surprise becomes a forced sale. When beneficiaries are stale, assets end up in limbo. When you guess about which accounts to fund and in what order, you create avoidable tax friction that quietly lowers returns for decades. None of this is glamorous, and all of it is decisive. Keep 1 to 3 months of essentials in cash you can reach in a day. Store your passwords in a manager with recovery codes, and keep a one-page letter of instructions that says where things live and who to call. Use the friendliest account order your country allows, tax-advantaged first when available, then taxable, and prefer low-turnover funds. Twice a year, in June and November, do a 20-minute projection so you can make small adjustments on purpose instead of frantic changes in April. Safety emerges not from products, but from systems that survive your worst week. By now, you may see a pattern. None of these mistakes are about lacking intelligence. They are about lacking choreography. Investors break not because they can't do arithmetic, but because they expect willpower to be available at 9:17 p.m. on a stressful Thursday. The way out of all 10 errors rhymes. Put your money on rails so it moves before moods. Income into a staging account with no card attached. Week 1 bills drafted from a bills-only account. Day after payday refills for the surprises that show up every year. A Friday weekly card for groceries and ordinary life, and an investing drip that buys regardless of headlines. Write the paragraph you can obey on red days. Size bones and cash to your sleep. Diversify because the future is bigger than your opinion. Keep fees and turnover low. Protect attention. Maintain the paperwork that keeps chaos from becoming a second loss. And rebalance on a calendar so you don't have to decide when everything feels undecidable. It helps to see the mistakes in rooms you recognize. In one, a nurse in her late 20s rotates shifts and keeps buying safe funds that are long-duration bonds because the word safe felt like a promise. Rates rise, the bond fund falls like a stock, and she concludes she is bad at money. She is not. She just matched the wrong tool to the job. She writes a paragraph policy, shortens duration in her bond sleeve, sets a small cash buffer, and automates contributions to a broad market fund. 3 months later, she still doesn't love finance. She doesn't need to. The system works without her affection. In another, a teacher couple with 2 kids treat income like weather. Good months overflow a checking account with a debit card attached to feelings. Bad months trigger credit card interest that out-earns their portfolio. They install Rails in an afternoon, including a bills-only account that drafts essentials on schedule and a Friday card for the week. They add a 5-line scoreboard on the first Friday of each month. Months of essentials saved, savings rate year to date, debt reduced since last month, investing contributions since January 1, and late fees avoided this quarter. Because they can see progress, they stop trying to earn it with clever trades. Their returns improve because they stop interrupting their own compounding. Across town, a self-employed designer has a good run and confuses heat with skill. She concentrates in the asset that just won her heart, adds leverage to accelerate, and builds a portfolio that requires her to be interesting to succeed. A 3 Sigma event arrives on a Tuesday, as they always do, and wrecks the year. She doesn't quit. She trims the sandbox to hobby size, moves the other 90% to a boring mix she can hold, and shifts her ambition from dazzling picks to raising price with receipts. A weekly line in a file that ties her work to outcomes. Hours saved, revenue added, refunds reduced. The raise buys more of the world each payday and compounds even when curiosity loses money inside the fence she built for it. Because every mistake hides a lesson about design, it's worth turning the 10 into a single idea you can carry without a spreadsheet. Investing is not a search for certainty. It is a craft of building systems that ask less of your willpower and more of your calendar. A boring plan you can execute while anxious will beat an exciting plan that requires calm you won't have when you need it. The market will keep lobbing tests. Headlines will keep offering drama. Your future self doesn't need you to be a hero. They need Tuesdays that behave. There is a simple ceremony you can run tonight to inoculate yourself against most of these mistakes. Sit with a glass of water and rename 2 bank accounts so even your future tired self can't pretend to forget them. Schedule 4 automatic moves for your next payday. Week 1 drafts from a bills-only account. Day after payday refills for labeled pockets. A Friday reload for your weekly card, and a savings transfer that leaves before feelings.
Turn on a small automatic contribution into a broad, low-cost stock fund in the most tax-kind account you can keep. And set a calendar invite for your birthday and half-birthday that reads, "Rebalance, breathe, go for a walk." Move shopping and trading apps off your home screen. Put a whiteboard on your freezer with 2 10-minute dinners you'll actually cook exhausted. Start the 5-line scoreboard and write zeros if you must. Zeros turn into numbers because visibility changes behavior more reliably than guilt. 6 months from now, if you run the ceremony and keep the rituals, your investing life won't look like a montage. It will feel like a plan you forget to think about because it works. Fees will be low. Taxes will be tamed by calendar. Diversification will be real instead of a slogan. Liquidity will exist before you need it. Leverage will be a tiny tool, not a requirement. Your attention will cost more to rent, which is a fancy way of saying you'll stop trading your future for someone else's adrenaline. And those 10 mistakes will still be part of your story, only now they'll be chapters you already finished, not plot twists waiting to trip you on the next red day.